Hey, we're back with another episode of Before You Buy, that show where we give you some straight up gameplay and our first impressions of the latest games releasing. And as usual, I'm Jake Baldino, and today we're talking about Split Fiction. This is the newest co-op adventure from developers Hazelight. They're the folks behind the co-op heist thriller A Way Out, and the couples therapy kinda Honey I Shrunk the Kids adventure It Takes Two, both of which are some of my favorite games. Yes, the way Hazelight handles co-op, specifically couch co-op, really warms my cold single-player heart, man. So just to be upfront, I am biased in that I'm the target demographic for this game. I'm a big fan, but even saying that, after It Takes Two, my expectations were pretty high for them to top that. And at the very least, Split Fiction is another one of these games, and that's a positive. It's filled with a lot of heart, a lot of fun, an entertaining story, and an incredibly creative gameplay spin that really makes you have genuine fun with whoever you're playing with. Despite some nitpicks I have with the story, or really the characters, Split Fiction is great. While their previous works felt like celebrations of stories and some great cinema, Split Fiction feels like a love letter to video games in a lot of ways, in terms of like Easter eggs, surprises, gameplay scenarios it throws at you. Just to be upfront, I absolutely recommend playing this one if you like these types of games, full stop. And just so you know, I've been playing a review copy, and this footage was captured running on a base PS5 and is spoiler-free. It's free from story spoilers, yes, but also, more importantly, some big gameplay moments as well. I'm keeping that stuff spoiler-free because, like, moving into the next big surprise in the game often ends up being, like, some of the cooler moments. Now, if you're new to these games, just know that Split Fiction is a linear, completely cooperative adventure. It's a split-screen adventure you can play via couch co-op or online. And credit where credit is due, man. A game published technically by EA here is doing a very pro-consumer move, and I think it should be highlighted. Only one person has to own the game. If you own it, your friend can hop in. This free play is also apparently cross-play, which I wasn't able to test before here, but that is insane. That's good for players, and my hat goes off, man. So when you jump in, each player takes the role of an individual. You play as Zoe and Mio. These are two women who are authors that, due to some heavy-handed corporate meddling, end up getting sucked into virtual versions of their worlds that they've created. Now, Mio is a sci-fi author, while Zoe is a fantasy author, meaning you're constantly hopping between like a cyberpunk world to a whimsical fantasy adventure to a big sci-fi battlefield to knights and castles and dragons. It just makes for near constant wow moments. Because really, the name of the game with Split Fiction is all about how the game is constantly changing. Your characters are pretty consistently thrown into totally new situations. Many of them have an overall gameplay theme or mechanic to them, but within that, perspectives constantly shift, types of puzzles always change moment to moment, how gameplay genres just complete straight up change, and you're always kind of doing something different. From a direction standpoint, this is impressive, from like, you know, the pacing perspective and just the raw entertainment factor. And then from a design standpoint, it just feels like, whoa, how the hell did they do this? Like from a complete shift in gameplay or perspective, or maybe like an over-the-top scene or something huge, I found myself genuinely asking multiple times out loud, how did they pull this off? And for my cynical game reviewer ass, I think that's a good thing. There's a little bit of awe and magic here. Now, the main foundation of the game, the core, is controlling your character with sprinting, running, jumping, dashing, and occasionally using a grappling hook. That's it. From there, the game builds in more complicated ways than you'd expect. You're riding motorcycles, you're using swords and guns, you're transforming, you're flying, and a bunch of stuff I don't want to spoil. Now, as you go through all these sequences, you can also find little side diversions and distractions to play around with. Things that just encourage you and whoever you're playing with to kind of mess around, goof off for a second. If you played A Way Out, like playing Connect 4 in that game, like it's stuff like that, but also bigger stuff. The game features these optional side stories, or like kind of levels to jump into, that are smaller, unique sequences that, to be frank, you should not skip, because sometimes they hold some of the coolest stuff in the game. The adventure itself, story-wise, has something to say, and I really like that. My only issue is that the main characters themselves fell a little bit flat for me. It took a while for me to warm up to them, and it does take a while to reveal more of their backstories, so I get that, but the delivery and the writing was a little bit more cheesy for me at times. Not enough to completely turn me off. I still like the story overall as a motivator more than the individual two leads. They have their moments for sure, but they also had some moments of like just over the top quippiness, that annoying type of thing that grated on me a little bit. This might really come down to individual taste. The person I played with liked them way more. And even still, even though I was a little hot and cold on them till the end, some emotional moments just really break through some of the cringy dialogue moments, and that's good. And the story certainly goes places. And the best thing I can say is that Hazelight is really showing everything that they've learned front and center here. If you're a fan of their games, you can see how they've really cooked on ideas and blown things out and kind of responded to some of the things in previous games that fell short. And there's a lot here. Like there's funny moments, there's dark moments, a few surprises, and a kick-ass ending sequence or two that just really sealed the deal on the adventure for me. A solid story with some complaints is fine, especially because the raw gameplay is just really fun. And I'm gonna be honest, they ramped up the difficulty here in a refreshing way. So their previous game, It Takes Two, was accessible. Maybe you played it with your non-gamer significant other or a more casual gamer friend, and it was doable. Well, hopefully they played that before Splitfiction, because Splitfiction does step it up a noticeable amount. Now, look, okay, don't get it twisted, man. I can smoke this game, dude, all right? I'm a gamer. I invented before you buy. I'm kidding. But, like, if you're playing with somebody who isn't good at, like, running and shooting and operating a third-person camera at the same time, it may take them a bit of time to get adjusted. You may have to carry them a little bit for certain sequences. Some relentless bosses with screen-filling attacks, a few sequences with overwhelming visuals while you're platforming, and some stuff that, like, for a normal, consistent gamer feels like easy whatever, but to, a more casual gamer kind of feels like scratching your head and rubbing your stomach at the same time. I will say, though, even for me, I did find some puzzles surprisingly difficult, and some stuff that's just really going to require a bit of trial and error. Again, don't get me wrong, the game is not technically that difficult, but just be prepared to be patient if you're playing along with a casual friend. Either way, it's still balanced well, and that person, even if they struggle, they're gonna have fun. The game just stepped up the sweaty factor here by about 40%, and I do think it was the right move. I had a good time. It's all doable anyway because there's pretty near instant respawn. The point is just succeeding and moving forward. And goddamn, does Hazelight just once again really do a great job in the co-op ideas department. Not just getting you to play together for the sake of it, but to actually have to communicate and succeed. Like messing around with your partner or getting frustrated at them or just like really goofily having to communicate your way through a tight, difficult sequence just makes it worth the ride for me. Like their previous games, I just got a lot of real life laughs out of this one, and it just made me like the game more. Visually, it looks very good. For me, it's the environments. The sense of scale, the colors, and the art direction really makes up for the fact that it's not like ray tracing reflections or I'm seeing the 4K pores on every character's face. It's really how the game just keeps up with these blazingly fast sequences and massive levels and constant perspective shifts, visual effects, cutscenes, gags, and all these transformations, all without skipping a beat. It just feels like technical magic. Look, this is definitely going to be a shorter video because there's not much more I can talk about without just individually spoiling certain sections. And I don't really want to just drag the video out for the sake of it. So do I recommend Splitfiction? Yeah, absolutely. Might take you about like 14, 15 hours, but like just the way it was paced, just the way it went down. Some of the levels are a lot longer. They go on for a while. So for me, it just felt longer than It Takes Two, and the way it kind of ended, I think, felt less abrupt. But I think all those hours were well spent, and again, I think it's worth playing. You might love the characters, or like me, you might end up being a little mixed on them, but the adventure itself, like I said before, is worth experiencing because it has something to say, you know, about art, the creation of art, friendship, family, just good, interesting themes here. But the bottom line, more than that, is that it is just so much fun to play. You remember that? You remember the word fun? F-U-N? Just sometimes you look at video game conversations on social media or YouTube videos and realize that fun factor is still the purest, most important thing about video games. And games like these are just a really good example of that.
Dear me, otters do fly! Whenever you have time, Zoe!
But hey, that's a before you buy. You know how this goes by now. I give you some pros, some cons, and some personal opinion. So now I want to hear yours. What's your experience with these games? Have you played with somebody you know? Have you played with like a random? Have you played with somebody you met at work? Do you play with your husband, your wife, your girlfriend, your son, your daughter, whoever? I want to know your experience with these types of co-op games, what you were expecting from Split Fiction, anything at all, really. We can talk in the comments down below. If you got any more questions for me, of course, you can find me on all the social medias and YouTube. Just look up my name, Jake Baldino. But thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this helped you out. Maybe just seeing the gameplay, you know, if it helped inform you at all, clicking the like button helps us out. We very much appreciate it. Still, after all these years, thank you. But that's about it for me. So thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.